Hello everyone, this is Blinder Guppy. In this video, I'm going to recreate the enemy base or hidden enemy base on an asteroid model or render which I posted in Twitter and Instagram. And I'm going to take you through the modeling and also the texturing. We're not gonna employ any UVs at this in this exercise, but we're going to use procedural texturing. So let's just start with something like this and make sure that this is going to be the meteor body. Make sure that faces are the face sizes are mostly equal, so the displacement throughout the mesh is also equal. So I'm creating the base mesh, scaling, and also using Alt S. Alt S is shrink and fatten. Well, let's try this. I'm going to say this as base asteroid base. Asteroid base. And let's go to quick displacement. So quick displacement, be sure to save. I'm going to use this so we can go back. We can use control we can use undo to go back or just reload the file. So use quick displacement. This is for now a destructive method. So just a small subdivision, so the effect of the smooth here is really strong. So if you increase the subdivision, the effects of the smoothing is weakened because there's a lot more faces to uh smooth, unless of course you increase the value here. But we'll we'll start with the big shapes. This is how I did the Oumuamua um model. And strength and size. So rotation, this is the rotation of of the texture, not of the object. Let's just use this original smoothing. So we're going to puff it up using the smoothing here. The smoothing here, usually if you're using or subdividing face loops that goes around the cylinder or forms cylinder shape, this will usually work the way it's intended to. But for something like a square or a something like a box with sharp edges, its effect is, it's kind of buffing up the object. But we can use this to buff this meteor. Okay, so let's increase the size. Okay, second phase is, let's mid-level brightness. Let's try the contrast. Okay, we could go in and so this is the first phase, the big shapes and the big faces. Going to activate proportional editing to manually shape this. Use Alt S, shrink and fatten. Okay, now for the second phase, which is the smaller detail. Pick displacement. Let's set the subdivision thing higher and the size 0.1, rank 0.1. Okay, smoothing. So this is the original mesh. And we're gonna smooth the sharp, sharp edges away. 5. There we go. And activate the strength. Increase the size. Okay. Play with the strength more a bit. Experiment with the noise basis. It's really good. Mm, Let's try this. And third one. This will be the smallest size. 0.05. Set this to 5 or 1. Let's increase the nabla. There's not much of a difference now because okay, this looks better. Get rid of the sharp edges. There we go. And I increase the subdivision. Go up some more. Be too small or too high. Let's see. No, it's just enough. Okay, so now we have our asteroid. Shade smooth. Shade smooth. Okay, so if you want smaller details, you can achieve that using textures and displacement. So, so what's the difference between using textures and this? With geometry, you have the shaped achieved using faces or geometry, and which means that You can use cavity AO and the pointiness node to create different type of cavity maps. So you can experiment more with texture because this is geometry. The only downside is that this is going to be heavier for the scene than using a texture displacement, which also requires a high resolution um, object for the faces to be displaced, but you can lower the subdivision anytime, whereas this is static. Okay, so now let's create the base where the enemy is at. So let's use this spot here, create a cube, and add some new faces. Make sure that they are equally sized. Okay, selecting everything. I'm going to create branches using random axis extrude. So random axis extrude. This is our subdivision, which increases the subdivision of the selected faces. The iteration. Iterations means that the operation, how many times this operation is repeated. Source extrude means that how many will be extruded from the source mesh. If this is 0, then z-axis will not be extruded from the source mesh. It will, however, be extruded from the branches created in the xy axis, which is stored on here. And this axis order xyz means that the order of extrusion is going to be from x, y, and then z. You can change it up to z. You can even have zyz if you want, or zzz. You can change it up like that. So that means that now the order of extrusion comes from the z-axis first, y-axis second, and x third. So let's use y-axis first, and then x-axis second, and z-axis last. So you can see here x, y, and z. X, y, and z, they are in columns. These are x, y, z also, except for this. Okay. So if you want to affect the first one, you have to use this here. Okay, not this one, or do not use the column for this axis order property. Okay, use the corresponding axis. Okay, so let's extrude from the y, and then from the x. So as you can see, if I extrude from the y-axis, you can see that source extrude, it can only extrude from the source mesh once, so you can see that it's only extruding from the selection once. And if we increase this, oops, this is the seed. If we increase this, it will only extrude from the branch created. Okay, so if we increase this, there we go. So there's two um extrusions poking from the source mesh from the y-axis. Let's use 2 for all of them. This is random. It may either come from the source mesh or come from the branches. To make the branch smaller, we increase the subdivision. And then axis loop 5 and 5. Okay, that's too small. There we go. And increase the iteration. Wait, inner cut. This is how many times the body of the extrusion is cut has a face loop. This is how many face loop it got. it has, in order for the um, axis loop to extrude from. Let's increase the size. I mean the length, and increase the iteration. If you have higher values, uh, the iteration of course will be much lower. So just remember that. The loop seed is here. So in order to affect everything, you must um you can see that it's not you can see that in the x-axis when I edit the seed property of the x-axis. Some of the extrusions remain the same. So in order to affect everything, you must seed the first axis in the axis order. So that's why that is the y-axis. Most of it will be seeded, as you can see, except for that's the Z extrusion. Let's just use one here, or not at all. Yeah, just one. Display with the shape. Get something that looks like a base. Might have to include a universal loop for this. A toggle for a universal loop for this right here in the next update. Subdivision. Let's use 12. And yeah, just use two face loops for the branches or the extrusions. So if you see something you like, you can keep it and then just layer the effects. Do the same operation again. The main operator for this for the detail is going to be, I think we're good with this. For is going to be random loop extrude. Save. And from here we can also or we activate, lower the subdivision. Oh, this is the subdivision, not the iteration. So the iteration is something like 5. Yeah, looks good. And now we're ready for the next step, which is the random loop extrude, the chaotic detail. Let's choose number and 25, 25, 25 to achieve a really small faces. Let's then, depending on the scale of the object or the scale of the model you're trying to achieve, let's increase the um, depth as well, 0.04. Okay, let's try and use radial. I may try and include the notches for this in the next update if it's workable. Okay, so I'm going to use individual solver and path. I'm going to use radial for the first loop, and then walk for the other loops. May 0.06, 0.05, and 0.04 for the third one, and 0.001 for the depth. It open up. Let's try and use a lower subdivision so we can experiment with the values more without too much slowdown. 0.002, 0.002. That's the depth. There we go. Nine. There we go. And it's safe. So we have this bunch of shapes here. Now we can, oops, not that. Try and model some, oops, get in there and try and model some details manually. This is kind of like a port, spaceport. Try and detail our spaceport. This is too much. 0.021. Yeah, this is the details are too micro for this part compared to this part here. So I'm gonna get rid of that and use panels instead. Radial, increase the subdivision, and let's see some squares in there. Use this. The, here, seed. Yeah, that looks much better. Shift G, coplanar, save. Let's choose panels. I use number get to get smaller faces on each face islands. Radial, and let's use notches. 5 with subdivision. There we go. Shift G, coplanar, or the faces are on the same shape. Plane, I mean, not shape. Can increase the max of this. 8. Look at those notches being extruded. Okay, so yeah, that. Now let's go to the. So remember to also practice with your texturing or procedural texturing. You might have the best model rated using random flow, but if the textures and shading isn't good, it's not gonna be worth it. Or it won't let the model shine without those things. Okay, let's use Struggle Loop Extrude for this. 1, 2, and 3. Let's just split the wrap just to avoid the distortions. And 1 here. Use walk instead of 1. It's 5, 5, and 5. So I've increased the subdivision to 2. Let's see if this. Okay, it's good. Let's try this one. 1, 2, and 3. Subdivision 2. If you don't want, if you want the process to be faster, then use the uh, use the random operator intermittently, or in intervals, or in sets of phases throughout the mesh, not the entire mesh like what I'm doing. So if you use the entire mesh with its phases, then the operation will surely be depending on the resolution, the operation will be longer. It's like this one. It has probably crashed. No, it has not. Okay. So what we're doing here is actually breaking up the profile. So instead of just being a straight line on the edges, you get this breaks because of the extruded details, and breaking up the outer and inner profile. Okay, and let's see. Naming conventions. Okay, it worked. So you will no longer have, in the next update, you will no longer have something like cube 0.001 random axis extrude, then underscore random axis extrude underscore random extrude. It will always be just the source mesh and then the random operator used. So that's better. And that is true for, that will be true for random flow and also in for panel cut because this also uses the same naming convention. So let's select the cube. Oh, not that cube. Cube 01 and wait some line extrusions here. Thickness something like 30 or 60. Okay, number 50 as loop seed individual, so they have random heights. Let's try 100. Okay, just to break up the outer spaces or outer profiles more. So selecting the random axis. There we go. And selecting everything. 100. Subdivision. Increase the subdivision. Increasing the subdivision makes the extruded faces smaller. And this is using 100. Let's try 200. Save. Save often. Save like you're playing a game. Okay. And let's try and scatter cubes. 300. And make the size smaller. This is just another way of creating chaotic shapes. Okay. And then let's try the other extraction here. Wait, RAE. We're looking for RAE. There we go. Selecting everything. And creating the spikes. Using the something like 50. Placing the subdivision fets like this. There we go. And cube madness. Randomize the scale. Okay, now we have that. I think this is also an RAE. There we go. And selecting everything. Go for the spikes. 200. And increase the subdivision. So for smaller details, if you want, then you can just go in and individual select faces for the operation. You can take your time and really build a model that can be rendered far or very close. And we have lost the connection to the, there we go, RAE. We have developed the spikes of it. No, let's just do another one. Okay, too small. And 9. Okay, some Cube Madness. I don't know. Now there we go. That is our base. Hopefully, we can create the debris. We can create debris using scatter again. Let's use the cube 01 as our source object and random scatter cube. And let's explode this. If this doesn't look good, we can just repeat the process. Explode. Whoopsie, that's minimum 1. Cluster. Oops. They use the face normal, so they're like that. They're not radial. In order for this to be, we have to create a cylinder on the cube. Cursor selected, and then create a cylinder and rotate it the shape of the cube. Increase the number of faces, and let's delete this. Shift G area, XF, select everything, and use this for the scatter. So when it explodes, it uses the normal of the cylinder, and it's round like that. Not the wait a minute. Wait, this is 4. It's 0.2. This is 1. And let's just affect the slices. I think we may have better luck with a sphere, but if this doesn't look good in the render, we can just change it to something else. Delete this and change this to something else. Okay. Or write another one. Let's create another one. Select that and RZ 90 degrees. Oh, that's too much. Okay, let's move on. Delete this. For the lights, instead of using textures, we're going to use random cells for the lights to create the lights. Or maybe not. Let's use per island node and the checker. Hopefully that works. Okay, let's try and texture this. Yeah, let's just use a sphere. Cube, cursor selected, sphere, and random scatter 200. There we go, it's spherical. and increase to 250. Oh, 250. Randomize the scales. And for the sphere, so we can repeat this. Turn it off in filters here. Also use select. Disable select viewport and uh okay, this is a viewport and render for the sphere. The sphere is still in the scene, you just can't see it. Okay, let's try and texture this. So if I this enable viewport render and I talk, the my voice will be distorted, so I'll try and avoid talking, but sometimes I forget. So yeah. And also recording in the shader editor, it's there's going to be some really lag, or my mouse was everything will skip. I don't know why it's happening. I'm using NVIDIA to record, not OBS. Maybe it's from OBS or the combination of them both, Blender and OBS. Okay, let's enable the HDRI and render. Okay, let's go for the meteor or asteroid first. New, and okay, it's already started. You can see it's a bit of a pause. So I'm scrolling, zooming. You can see that it's so go to preferences in add-ons and type in a node. So enable node Wrangler for the shortcuts that I'm going to use. So you can use it. Okay, to so in Polyhaven you can download HDRIs and also textures for grounds or anything, and you can it comes with diffuse, AO, normals, uh, yeah, all the stuff, and you can set them in the shader using Control Shift T. Well, I have, yeah, it doesn't show up here. Control Shift T, and all you have to do is look for the texture. We're going to use this. Select everything, and it will properly connect them using UV. But since yeah, I think this has UV because its source object is, remember, it's a cube, a primitive cube, and a primitive cube has been UV'd. We just extruded it, so I think it's auto UV'd at that point. And let's see in the don't crash. There we go. Oh, we extruded this and didn't. Yeah, well, let's just try UV mapping. We should have a UV that before we displaced, because the displaced mesh, although it has a lot of faces, well, will inherit the UV cube or source mesh shader. Uh, Object, change this to object, but we're going to change this to box, not flat. Flat is for UV. If you're using object, you use box for the, what is this? Of projection, box, 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 and finally the, what is this one? Displacement, also box. Okay, now let's view the model. This is going to be too strong for the displacement because there's a lot of faces, so we're going to adjust that. Oh, Okay, probably not. 2. I'm just trying this 10. Well, probably not abuse this one. Okay, I just spoke while it's rendering. Okay, so I'm going to up the scale and see what it does. I can already see the seamless duplication of the texture repeat itself. So let's lower the scale. You know, I'm gonna change the texture to something lighter. This is mud. Although this is, I think, the true color of the asteroid, which is brown, or like uh, the soil here on Earth. I'm going to use the shell floor, which is kind of like the beach. Box, 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 box. Render. Can't see the texture. Is this too small already? Or one? Yeah, it's already good. But that displacement is too strong. 0.25. Is that displacement or normal map? Oh, I adjusted the mid level, not the scale. Scale is 0.5. Let's try 0. There we go. And 0.25 doesn't didn't really affect anything. So let's just use um 0.5. Let's get rid of the clouds. Let's go to film and disable toggle off the transparency. Let's add some uh ambient occlusion in there. Mix, set this to multiply, and go to ambient occlusion. Set this here and set this to 1. Without AO and with AO. Another another use of node wranglers that you can control Shift T on a node, and it will show you the preview of that of the node and the rest of the node behind it. So color ramp and then ambient occlusion. I control Shift T on the color ramp. There we go. So I can adjust this without the other effects of the shader, nodes of the shader being on top of everything. Okay, so to get it back, to get the normal view of the shader back, uh, Control Shift T on the main shader. There we go. So we now have our rapid ambient occlusion. We can also, because this is geometry, we can also add something like geometry, and then pointiness. The pointiness node is in geometry. The pointiness output is in the geometry node. So let's pointiness, connect it there, and affect it using the color ramp, or control it using the color ramp. Let's try add and view this. Okay, so we have the ambient occlusion and then the add factor using the pointiness node. So there's a bit of a brighter spot in the peaks of the details, and then in the valleys, that will be where the ambient occlusion is working. So as you can see, if I disable the pointiness, the bright spots are gone. Okay, so that is just one of the uses of this. So this is how I would do it from time to time. I can also use this to create lights on the light effects on the asteroid, and also combine it with EO to create such effects. So you can use this to create a whole lot of effects, not just this one, but for this one, we're combining these two to create a more believable asteroid. I haven't seen one personally, but I think they kind of look like that. Okay, for everything here, selecting the mesh types, material, assign material. Oh, wait, let's put in some vertex color and use island or individual islands. And then with all of them selected, Shift GT, Control Shift X, assign vertex color material. But okay, let's use vertex color. There we go. And if we render this, we have that. Okay, let's try and put color mix AO just to darken the uh, valleys and the tight spots. Set to multiply color ramp. With just the default. And spot in some cavity. I'm going to use my grand shaders nodes that you can find in Gumroad and Blender Market. Okay, so F4, append, run shader node. Okay, this one here. And in the node trees, cavity mask, edge mask, quick dirt, and scratches. I'm probably not gonna use edge mask and scratches because the model is supposedly really big. So just this one, quick dirt and cavity mask. I think this is multiply or add. Let's just add. Multiply. Okay, so I'm going to edit this to make the effect more subtle. Then I'll add the or multiply the quick dirt. Control Shift T to see only the effect of the node. And use all these for the um, metallic and roughness. Color ramp. Invert for the roughness. Okay, okay, let's try and use uh, yeah, for the lights, let's use Okay, Shift G, coplanar, and use random cells without extrusion. Okay, loader. Don't use anymore. It's probably too much. So 50 and clear adjacent faces so that they don't have any neighboring faces nearby. Oops. Okay, let's pick it up and test. Disappeared. Okay, that's strange. There we go. And use emission for this. Let's raise it up on the, oh my god, it's double. We should have increased the offset. There's there's our lights. So instead of using texture, you can go planar. You can use this. And oops, I forgot to want to increase the offset so it juts out from the mesh. Let's use the emission. So you can just subtract by deleting some of the faces manually, or add by duplicating a face and placing it on the position that you like. This is not possible with texture, so yeah. In order to snap it to the face here, Control Shift Tab, Face Project, and then project individual elements, and Control Shift Tab, Shift Tab to enable snapping, and then move and just move the object or the mesh inside the mesh or the face, and it will snap to that face is there. And you can duplicate and disable snapping, Shift Tab, and Alt S to use shrink fatten to bring it out of the source mesh to in order to see it in order to see it. Okay, let's go to pick this, and then this, join them, hide, delete the what is this one? Blender makes it disappear when I and then use it on this one. Wait, the RAE. Let's use it on the RAE, random axis extrude, and just increase the okay, offset, and also randomize the offset. We can create make it look like flying spaceships on this part here. So 100. Let's use the emission and render. Duplicate the emission and use different color for this. You can make the faces smaller as well, selecting everything, and pressing period using individual origins to make the light smaller. And let's create some lights here. Shift G, coplanar, uh, 0.01 offset. Use the blue light. There's a set of lights here. Planar, or maybe this one. Okay, I'm going to select these lights here. Selecting everything, make sure that I'm in individual origins, resize, and make them smaller. Also here. And this one, Control J and S. Let's fit it inside the render window. To go to camera and track lights, where is it? Unlock the camera view. And then once I've settled for the angle that I want, turn this off so I can zoom in and out without affecting the distance of the camera to the object. So now let's play with the lighting. we need to break this up more. So we're going to try and use Voronoi for this. Color, mix, add, shader, or maybe just Displacement. Probably faster. Okay. So then probably in the in the future, I will use my own textures instead, using baked textures from the using random flow. The sphere. Oops. Sphere. Select the sphere. Delete. Okay, let's try with the. Actually, I have something here. Append procedural texture. That's for creating panels. Panel. No. Circuit. Circuit. No, I've lost it. Anyways, texture. Voronoi. I think it's distance. Multiply. Color. Okay, this. Yeah, it's the Chibi Chab. I have something else figured out than this, but I forgot what file is it is. I most probably have already deleted it or override it. So object. We're just here to break up the texture. So there's two ways to approach this. Uh, Generate more um smaller. Use the faces to generate more smaller randomized patterns, or use textures. Okay. Cursor to world origin. Okay. Add an empty. Scale this and Shift G empty. Parent it to the empty. So we can R Y rotate it. X. Get different points of view. Okay, let's use that and render. Composting, turn on use nodes. Okay, I'm gonna add something here first before color dodge. Add mix shader before color dodge, then use the values here and make this lower. Okay, let's try and render. First off, the background. You can use stars, stars image texture, but because of the it's like it's kind of like the moon, so the light source being the sun. This is kind of close to the to a star. So I guess the background in the background, looking at this in this light intensity, you won't be able to see any stars. Okay, where is that? Alpha over value 0.005. Not entirely black. And let's go to map range. Control Shift T on map range. And let's use 0.14. This will bring out the highlights that we can use to as a filter for the color dodge and add 0.12. So these bright spots here will be the ones affected in these nodes, in the add and color dodge node. And Control Shift T on, I'm going to Control Shift T on this node here. Okay, that's a bit too much for the add. Let's use 0 and see the effect. Okay, so 0.2 and use blue, it's entirely blue there, and lower this to something like 0.6. This to 0.3, and we have our render. So in this angle, kind of looks like a warship with the bridge here and the body being an asteroid. Let's try another light angle. Render. Yeah, I think that's much better. We're not hiding any geometry, and also all the efforts we put into the design of the base is actually seen. We have those little lights there. I think the asteroid is really cool. You can play around with the source mesh or the base mesh a bit before actually using displacement. Yeah, I think this is really cool. And you can also try and animate this. I'm going to try and animate uh, something like this in the future. So where the background is the one that's moving, the stars. So this asteroid is going on, traveling on a hyperspeed. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to let you see the node so you can pause and see it on screen. This is the base. I use two of my shader nodes, which is Cover Mask and Quick Alert. And then for the lights, it's just emission. And this is for the asteroid. We have pointiness and AO doing some effects using multiply and mix and add mix nodes. And then we have the compositor nodes. Okay, so that's it for this video. And I hope you learned something new with the tools. Mm. If you have any questions, be sure to use the comment sections or the links in the description. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.